Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Jackson Securities webinar. I'm Aidan Lane, and I'm here with Sam from Flynn Gold today. Flynn Gold's a developer in northeast Tasmania, in the emerging camp of Mount Doe, and they've got a shade gap exploration site in WA as well. Sam, how are you going today?
I'm well, thanks, Aidan. Thanks for inviting me to speak.
No, thanks for coming on board, Sam. I think there's quite a few investors here today. Looking to hear more about Flynn Gold. Obviously, you recently floated, a lot of sort of publicity around the share at the moment. It's good to have you on board today so we can push that out a little bit further. So for the audience, today's webinar, we're going to go through some questions between Sam and I, and then we'll take live questions from the floor. So there's the ability for you to ask questions in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. If you ask questions there, we'll try to answer as many as possible towards the end. We might not be able to answer all of them, but we'll do our best. We can answer further questions after the webinar if people still have questions they want to go through. So Sam, let's get into it. Sam, can you just give us a little bit of background about yourself and how you've ended up at Flynn Gold first?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm a geologist. I was trained at the University of Tasmania, did a Bachelor of Science and Honours down there, and shortly after that I did a Masters of Economic Geology. I've had some, over 30 years experience now as an exploration geologist, working pretty much all over the world, but I've been fortunate more recently to spend a fair bit of time in Australia. I recently, back in 2013, I got together with an investor here based in Melbourne, and we established a private company called Pacific Trends Resources, and we used that as a vehicle to start looking for exploration opportunities. So that was at a time when the industry was in the doldrums somewhat, and we thought it would be a good opportunity to start scouring the planet, looking for suitable projects. We came across another private company based in Tasmania called Kingfisher Exploration, and we got teamed up with them with a joint venture on their Portland gold project. We also got into some projects in Chile, which we're still developing through another company. But the joint venture with Kingfisher was very successful, and we were able to grow that, add new projects in, and got the momentum that we needed, boosted by the new gold rush and the discoveries in Victoria. Gave us the impetus that we needed to get those assets listed into Flynn Gold.
Oh, that's great to hear. And so obviously, you've spoken a little bit about Kingfisher, and that's how you ended up in Tasmania. In terms of your main site in northeast Tasmania, how did you come across that originally?
Well, Kingfisher had one or two actually projects there. The Portland Gold Project, which was quite a small tenement, and they had adjacent to that to the south a larger block of ground called the Gladstone Tin Project. The Portland project was pretty clearly demonstrating evidence of orogenic style gold mineralization, and it's been well established now that northeast Tasmania is an extension of the Victorian orogenic gold belts. It was an opportune time with Kingfisher to get started on exploring that area and getting to know it. And in the meantime, there was the discovery of the Swan Zone Clerkenwell Lake in Victoria, and things were hotting up there. So based on our experience with Kingfisher in the northeast, you know, we were able then, we had some confidence to start looking a bit more broadly in the northeast Tasmanian region, and, you know, cherry picking what we thought were the best projects in the district. So I guess, you know, there was a little bit of luck. We were, which is, you know, always good. We always need that. We were in the right place at the right time, just before things took off. And you know, we're in the right belt of rocks, and critically in an area that hasn't had a significant amount of exploration dollars spent on it relative to the same belt across the ditch in Victoria. So that, you know, they're the two key leveraging positions for us, and that is that you know, we've got the same rocks, the same style of mineralisation, but a much weaker exploration history. So, you know, our aim obviously is to leverage off that. We believe we've got a large tenement position down there, which can see us through to the future, and generate plenty of targets for us.
Yeah, it's great to be one of the early movers as well and get a hold of it, and as you said, cherry pick, you know, some of those sites and get a hold of them early. Just looking at, you know, one of your recent activities, so you had a gravity survey not long ago. How accurate do you believe those are in your further exploration endeavours?
Well, gravity is an important tool in an explorationist kit bag these days. I mean, I've used it a lot in Western Australia. It's particularly important in covered terrains. But, you know, it works basically where you have good contrast. So it's an excellent mapping tool, particularly for granite contacts. And in the Golden Ridge project, which is our headline project in northeast Tasmania, you know, we're developing the model for intrusive related gold deposits there. You know, we're currently got a drill rig there drilling the Brilliant prospect, but at the same time we're looking further afield and trying to work out you know, where best to focus our efforts. And one of those key areas is the actual contact between the intrusive and the enclosing metasediments. So that contact shows out fairly clearly in the gravity, but on the ground it's obscured somewhat by scree cover, given the steep angle of the hills there surrounding the intrusive. So, you know, we can use the gravity to give us more confidence as to where that important contact is, and it's important because it's potentially a mineralizing contact or you know, mineralizing fluids that flowed along it. So we need to have as accurate a picture as we can of where that contact is. In terms of, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious as to, you know, in terms of other methods you could use to validate those surveys. Is there other ways you do that?
Yeah, so you know, we could we plan to follow up that work with trenching to sort of give us some you know, ground truthing of the gravity work, some more detailed mapping. Yeah, our crews are on the ground there, mapping and sampling as we speak. And we've also just completed an IP survey, a gradient array IP survey. So, you know, the hope is that the IP might pick up some, you know, IP signature or resistivity signature along that contact, which might indicate the evidence of mineralisation.
Mm. And just moving, a little bit different way in terms of the exploration side of things. Is there any sort of other materials or metals you might, find in that region, or you suspect to find in the region?
Oh yes, definitely. The northeast Tasmania is well known as a site for historical tin mining and tin prospecting, both alluvial and hard rock. Kingfisher were ahead of the game in picking up the large Gladstone tin project, primarily because the northern end of the project included the southern extension of the orogenic system in the Portland project, but it also includes large areas of tin granite potential with historical evidence of alluvial and hard rock mining. So we have done some preliminary reconnaissance work following up some of those historical areas, and we will continue to do so. But it's well known that there's an association between orogenic gold systems and tin granites. So we have high confidence that if there was a tin deposit there, we would have a good chance of finding it. There's, along with the tin, there's potential for tungsten as well, but definitely tin. And with tin prices the way they are, or the way they're going, or the way they're trending at the moment, it's not a bad second project to have in our kit bag.
Definitely. And say, if you did find a large amount of tin in the region, would you look to shift your priorities into, tin and potentially, the graphite side of things, or would you, still think that area is rich with gold and focus your efforts there?
Yeah, I don't think we'd look to shift our priorities, but we definitely wouldn't ignore the opportunity, and I guess that would be a call we'd have to make, or we'd be happy to make further into the future. But no, we definitely wouldn't ignore any significant tin opportunity that we were able to develop there. Our focus is gold, and our budgets reflect that. But we do have money set aside in our budget to continue the exploration for tin to see what develops there.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, it's a good problem to have. If you walk into a large amount of tin, as well as you explore for the gold, and you can make that decision down the track as to best utilise that asset. Speaking of the budget now, so you've spoken about having some space in there for the tin exploration. Given the wider cash position of the company, how long do you think you can continue to explore and drill before needing further funds?
Well, drilling rigs are very hard to come by. So, we'll aim to keep the rig that we've got occupied for as long as we can. And it's not just the rigs that are hard to come by, it's, the crews to manage them. And if you give the rig away, or if you find yourself in a position where you have to give it away, then you may not see it again for quite a while. So, we've structured our program to be able to potentially keep drilling throughout most of this year at least. And we hope that we have success at Brilliant and our ongoing projects that will give us the impetus we need to keep it there. We've got programs planned for drilling in the next 12 to 24 months at Trafalgar, to the east of Brilliant, but also at Portland, at the Henty Zinc project on the west coast, and potentially at Gladstone Tin. So we'll manage our funds carefully with the aim to hitting as many of those targets as we possibly can with a drill rig.
And just, speaking about, the teams and the crews that manage those drill rigs, we're quite aware that there's a bit of a labour shortage in WA at the moment for manning those. Are you being affected by that in WA and in Tasmania as well?
We're not being affected by it yet in WA. We've most of our tenants over there are still pending grant, but I'm sure that issue could potentially develop once those projects are granted. Although we do have a relationship with a contract consulting group over there, so I think we'd get the work done that we needed to. In Tasmania, it is an issue, and COVID is playing its part as well. We currently can't travel to Tasmania, so if you want to do, it makes it a bit of a challenge to plan too far ahead, and you have to take advantage of situations when they arise. So if there is an IP crew, for example, in the state, you need to take the opportunity to use them because they may not be able to get back. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I guess if they get stuck down in Tassie, then you can continue to use them as long as they're there, but might not be the best thing for them.
Well, that's right. Yeah, it's a challenging time for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then just looking at some of the competitors in the region, so other explorers like Strela and Great and Gold. What's your competitive advantage against them?
Well, our competitive advantage is we're on the ground working. We've actually got programs activated. We're currently drilling. We've got all our tenements are granted. We've been exploring the region for quite a long time now. So our team are experienced in what they need to be looking for and what they need to be doing. We've had time to as you mentioned, cherry pick the best targets for what we believe are the best targets. And our teams are Tasmanian based and familiar with the conditions and the environment down there, the working environment. So, we are fortunate in that, we're not in a position where we're relying on crews from interstate to come down because that would just sort of kill the work under the current environment. So having Tasmanian-based geologists has been critical for us in maintaining our momentum.
Yeah, definitely, and obviously, you've got your background in Tasmania as well, so I'm sure that helps the situation as a whole.
As a whole, yeah, it's good to be back working on home turf, and it's good to be exploring in an area where we have a large land position and a very, very competitive advantage.
And speaking internally about there's obviously that upside definitely there, and you're doing well compared to some of those other businesses. What do you think the biggest challenges you will face as a company in the next 12 months or so?
Well, we've already mentioned COVID is a real one, and managing that it's a daily, weekly, monthly issue for us. It's all very well to have programs planned out, but if you can't get the contracting groups, whether it's geophysics, drilling, or specialist consulting geologists from the Victorian goldfields to come down, then it does create. You need to be flexible, and you need to pivot and just get other stuff done. We're really fortunate that we've got a drill rig on site and drilling, so that's that box is ticked. We've got our locally based geologists, so we're okay there. But I, for example, management can't get down there. We've tried to plan several investor trips over the last few months, and they've all been foiled and delayed and put back. So those are very real issues, and they impact on the program. But you know, we've got a world-class managing team down there, exploration manager down there. So you know, it's got a lot of experience, and we can manage those issues as they arise. The general, you know, boon in the industry and the competition for rigs and drill crews and you know, IP crews and the like, that's an issue that is not going to go away in the next 12 months. So you know, just having enough drilling rigs is not the only problem, but having experienced crews to manage them, you know, also impacts. So, you know, you can't necessarily get a rig manned, you know, 24 hours. You might only have to be satisfied with you know, with a 12-hour operation. So these are all the issues that we've got now and into the future for the next 12 months. So I don't really see it changing.
Yeah, definitely things seem a little bit dire at the moment in regards to COVID. Just to get a little bit more of a picture around those impacts you have with your contractors, are a lot of them coming from Victoria, or do you have, you know, some coming out of New South Wales? You know, just considering the, you know, COVID situation's much worse in New South Wales compared to Victoria, and that could ease sooner than New South Wales. So is that the case for you? Is it mostly Victorian-based workers coming down to Tasmania?
No, all our workforce is Tasmanian, but we do have the odd consulting geologist who might be a specialist in, you know, orogenic systems, who's done a lot of work in the Victorian belt that we might rely on from time to time to give us some advice. So in that circumstance, you know, under the current system, you know, they wouldn't be able to get to site. You know, we're lucky with the drilling crew; they're Tasmanian based, so that's not a problem for us. But other contracting specialists, with, you know, for geophysics and the like, they're all out of state. So you know, we need to plan those programs well in advance and be prepared to do something different if it can't happen.
Sure. And just before we move to live questions from the floor, how is Flynn Gold, you know, to create shareholder value in the near and the long term?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one?
How is Flynn Gold positioned to create shareholder value in the near and long term?
Well, we're drilling, so we're anticipating results in the near term, and you know, when you're drilling, anything can happen. So, you know, we'd like to think that we're going to be successful in the near term. We've got a very strong tenement position with the benefit of, you know, deposit style optionality. So we've got orogenic style gold deposits, and we've got intrusive related gold systems there in northeast Tasmania. So I think that's a huge benefit to us. You know, we're not a one-trick pony in terms of the targets we're going for, and it also means that you know, along with the 7 tenements that we've got the potential for a long pipeline of drill targets out into the future. While we're, you know, we've already covered this, but while we're generally gold focused, you know, we've got exposure to both tin tungsten projects in northeast Tasmania, plus we've got our zinc projects on the west coast. And looking out further, you know, we've got projects in 2 emerging gold camps, the Tasmania Victoria camp and the Pilbara camp in WA, with projects, you know, immediately adjacent to De Grey's Hemi project. So, you know, I think you know, we're well positioned to deliver success in in the near to long term.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for answering all my questions, Sam. I'm just going to move to some live questions now, so you can still feel free to ask them in the chat section there. First question we've got here is from David. So David emailed in earlier. He said, do you have an understanding of the grade of gold that you could find in Tasmania?
Yes, we do. And the answer is that it's a very broad answer. You know, in the current deposit that we're drilling out at Brilliant, you know, we're looking for large tonnage, lower grade type systems. So, you know, we're looking for broad intercepts over a gram gold. But in our sort of orogenic type systems, you know, we're looking for 5, 10, 20 gram type intercepts and shorter. So you know, it's horses for courses. The orogenic type systems tend to be much higher grade. You know, we have rock chips running, you know, up to 200 grams. So, and at Brilliant, you know, we have in the historical drilling, we you know, we have intercepts of 100+ meters of just over a gram. So it depends on the type of target we're shooting at, and that is one of the benefits we have as a company. We've got multiple target types to shoot at.
Sure. Well, thanks for answering. I'll move to the next question. It's here from Roger. So Roger's asked, what is the process of exploration and how long is it expected to take for Flynn?
The process of exploration starts by looking broadly and focusing inwards. So, you know, we look broadly on a regional basis. We've done that and continue to do that with our regional geology programs, and that's how we selected the tenements that we've got. The next step is focusing inwards towards ultimately, you know, defining drill targets. We use tools such as the geophysics, the gravity, the IP. We'll use soil sampling, stream sediment sampling, all to sort of allow us to focus into a smaller and smaller area, and hopefully we generate multiple smaller target areas which we can ultimately drill. We have the benefit at Brilliant on the Golden Ridge project of having a drill-ready project to walk onto. That project was defined by previous workers with you know, economic to sub-economic drill holes. So you know, that was a benefit to us. So as a company, we're benefiting from having, you know, walk-up drill targets as well as broad acre exploration targets to generate that pipeline of drill targets that ultimately every company wants to have.
Sure. And then I got a question here from Kyle. So Kyle's just asked, what are the other key people involved in the company other than yourself?
We have an exploration manager based in Tasmania. He is key on and has been. He's been with us from the very beginning. He was one of the partners in the Kingfisher exploration group that we joint ventured in with. He has a wealth of experience and knowledge in these systems. Our geologists on site are obviously key to the whole process, and our field assistant crews or field technician crews. Besides that, in Melbourne, you know, we have our small management team, John Ford and Clive Duncan, all go together to make a cohesive, hopefully successful company.
Sure.
I should add in there that, you know, we will draw on and we do draw on the broader geological community for the experience that we need as we need it. Whether it's consultants, geological consultants based in Victoria, or geophysics consultants based in WA. We have access to all these people as we need it, and they provide very valuable service.
All right, well, perfect. Thanks for answering that as well, Sam. We've just got another question here from Paul. So Paul, he said that you've spoken a bit about luck in your findings. With further findings, what's the balance between luck and skill in your operations?
That's a very good question. Luck obviously always plays some part, because you start off with a two-dimensional picture, and you have to interpret that into 3D before you get to the drilling stage. But it's very important that we have people in our group that have a lot of experience, and the experience, generates the opportunities, generates the targets, and once we're in there drilling, then luck can definitely play a part. You don't want to ignore that, but we hope that our experience working in other parts of the district, other parts of the country, other parts of the world, all has accumulated to us having an understanding of these types of systems and how they operate, and hitting the targets that we can. But yeah, it's definitely true. Luck can play a part.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about doing as much as you can and controlling your controllables, and then obviously luck will play its part depending on how well you do and how many drill rigs you get in at the end of the day. Just one final question here from Fiona before we wrap up our time today. So Fiona just says, it sounds like your efforts are really focused in Tasmania at the moment. What allocation of resources are you putting to the WA projects?
We have a budget for WA when the tenements get granted. That the work planned for there will initially be ground geophysics. And the ultrafine fraction soil sampling. So not a large budget necessarily, but enough to get us generate some targets to follow up with, and that could be very exciting for us.
No, that's definitely good to hear. Well, thanks for your time this morning, Sam, for sitting down with us and answering our questions and the questions from the floor as well. Just before we wrap up, is there anything you want to leave investors with before we go back to our day and what most of us probably in lockdown?
Thanks, Aidan, and thanks for having me on, and thanks everybody for listening in. We appreciate your interest, and we appreciate your involvement in Flynn Gold. We'd like to emphasise that we're on the ground. We're working very hard. We've got drilling rigs turning, and whilst that process is going on, we have the chance for success. So we look forward to communicating with you more in the future, and best wishes to everyone.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Sam, and thanks to all the attendees for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you for any of our other webinars and following Flynn Gold closely throughout the rest of the year and hopefully beyond.
Thanks, Aidan.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Have a great day, everyone.